welcome to our 39th episode of Toonami Pre-Flight. I am Gil Austin.
I'm Jason DeMarco.
And today we are going to be talking our favorite sci-fi animes, Cyborg 009. We're going to take a look both forwards and backwards in Intruder, ahead to week 3 and backwards through weeks 1 and 2. We have a Bloom Room from Steve Bloom from Anime USA. And we have another sneak peek besides the Intruder that we will get to later on.
Cool.
But first up, let's talk cyborgs, specifically zeros 1 through 9.
By the way, I thought this was a good time to let everybody know that I'm actually Cyborg 10.
I thought you were 000.
No,
you're not.
I wasn't the original. I came after. These guys are older than I was.
You were not born in pre-1966?
Not in the 60s, yeah.
So
I won't tell you what my cybernetic enhancement is, but it's a good one.
Is it, should we have a Facebook poll guessing what your...
Sure. What's Jason's cybernetic enhancement?
It's extra douche, extra dick, or... That actually sounds pretty bad. We're just going to move on from Jason's cybernetic organisms.
Hey, he went there. All I said was it was cool.
I was thinking more personality traits, but I now, in hindsight, realize I should have more carefully considered my words before we
letting you step into that.
Initiated the Facebook poll. It'll now turn into a Twitter poll.
I think your cybernetic ability is foot in mouth.
Is, yes, lack of forethought. I am cyborg. Dude, fail.
Cyborg.
What is your first experience with the Cyborg 009?
I knew it existed, but I had never tracked it down. I knew of the manga. I mean, because it was been around since like the 60s.
I didn't realize it was that old until we started prior to the show, but started just looking back at previous shows. I was thinking it was more like late 70s, sort of at the beginning of all the other
I knew that
To America animes.
I knew that I don't know where or how, but I had seen some of the art and stuff, and I knew that it was highly reminiscent of Tezuka. Like, it looked like Tezuka, which, of course, so much anime and manga did in the 50s and 60s coming out of Japan. But I, for a long time, just thought, oh, that's another Tezuka thing, because he did so many. Osamu Tezuka, the godfather of manga, did so many different things that I just assumed it was him, but it isn't. It's a different guy who is the same guy who created Kikaider and a whole bunch of other stuff, Kamen Rider stuff. And so for me, I didn't actually see it as an anime till we got it, and it wasn't. That was when Toonami wasn't really under our control. So I remember them just being like, here's the show, Cyborgs. Enjoy, make promo. We were like, oh, all right, this looks cool. Like
we aired it in 2003, and that series had run in Japan pretty close to before that. I would think within a year or two prior.
Yeah, and it was 50,
to that point.
It was 52 episodes, so I think that they thought, oh, good, this is a year's worth of, so if this works, which unfortunately it did not.
We made it halfway through that 52, and then they finished it out. That was sort of the Cartoon Network model. It was like, we'll try it, and then we're contractually obligated, but we never said when we would run it. So
we'll
it would run it
throw it on somewhere and not give
9:45 a.m. or 3 a.m. or whatever it would be.
But yeah, very different from today's TV model, where even if a show is failing, they usually just let it wrap up just so the fans can have their wrap up. But back in the day, it was much more like, shut up, you didn't watch it anyway. But we liked it. I remember that. I remember all of us being like, oh, this is pretty good. But we hadn't heard anything about it. It was a total dropped in our lap kind of thing, as I recall.
So we have our not original, I guess it was, our launch promo for when we were on Cartoon Network Toonami Spot. So let's watch that, and we can talk a little bit more about the show.
In an effort to dominate robotic warfare, the secret organization Black Ghost has transformed these 9 humans into cybernetic soldiers. The problem is, nobody asked them.
We were kidnapped off the street so you could remodel us.
There's no escape. Surrender to your fate.
Cyborg 009, starting Monday, June 30th at 6.
How did I do all this?
Being a human ain't all that.
And we're back. It's Black Ghost It turns out it's not cool. I always thought this was cool. You can't just kidnap people and turn them into cyborgs and then not have it come back on you. It really changes fundamentally my life plan.
The basic
and
plot,
I need to make some drastic decisions.
The basic plot that kicks off the story is basically that these guys have been kidnapped by an evil cabal of scientists called Black Ghost, who have cybernetically enhanced them against their will, and then intend to sell them to the highest bidder as weapons. And then so they essentially rebel against this and determine to fight against Black Ghost. And there, of course, are 9 cyborgs, and the show...
Don't you mean 10, Jason?
Basically well, I'm not in the show. I came after it. So the show basically stars the 9th cyborg, and they all have different enhancements. And I think... I don't know. Looking at it, I can see why it didn't take off in the U.S. I mean, it is so old school style, and like it's a very strange mix of totally silly 60s kind of anime conventions and then like badass 90s anime conventions.
Even though it was a newly produced series, it just feels...
It looks old. And the ideas are old school behind it because it's, as I understand it, it's somewhat faithful to the manga, which I haven't read. But I like it appeals to me, but I'm an old person who loves old school anime, right. So I can see why if you were a kid, and you were watching newer shows, you might go from Naruto to this and be like, this isn't for me. You know, it's just so old school. It just like I can imagine the art style turning off an American audience.
And you would think that Black Ghost, after like the second cyborg, would put in a failsafe where they couldn't come back on him and just not. Then you're 7 against 2, and odds are you're probably going to still win that as a scientific organization.
But the manga went for years and years and years, like 30 years. There's been multiple movies. There's been multiple series. This is just legendary. And honestly, we hear from Toonami fans pretty decent amount, like, hey, I really liked that Cyborg 009 show. You should bring that back. You know, like it's one of those shows people talk about.
Yeah.
So even though it wasn't highly successful when it ran, it seems to have had more of a half-life than a lot of the other shows that did better. So congrats, Cyborg 009.
Well done.
Can't keep a good cyborg down.
Never.
So why don't we transition to our question of the week, which is... What's your favorite sci-fi anime? This is a kind of a tough one for Gil and I because, like, we have talked about so many of our favorite anime, which happen to be sci-fi. Like, I could talk about Akira all day, or we could talk about Star Blazers, or the shows we've talked about before. So it was harder to try to not just do the obvious choices than I thought. I mean, there's a ton of amazing sci-fi anime, but it was just like I'm like, we already talked about that one.
Yeah,
a lot.
We need to put an addendum on the question for us, that you haven't already talked
that you
to
haven't.
death.
Yeah, because everyone else is going to say their 5 favorites, which are going to be probably the ones we've already talked about. That said, it's not like we have some crazy rare choices here, but why don't we go ahead and I'll go first. So the first sci-fi anime I want to highlight is one that sort of was huge when I was younger, like in the 90s. It was really lauded and people talked about it. And I think it came out the year before Akira, and then Akira, of course, just, took over the conversation, understandably. But it's called The Wings of Honeamis, or maybe it's Oneamis, I don't know. But, or Oneamis, I might be pronouncing it wrong. Some weeb will correct me. But, it is Studio Gainax and Bandai Visual. It's the first movie they worked on together, and it's basically an alternate Earth where space travel hasn't happened yet, and there are 2 major governments sort of in the midst of a civil war, and the space program is this long forgotten, kind of like now, underfunded thing that no one cares about. And this guy who's the main character is basically the astronaut candidate who's going to go into space. And he's grappling with sort of whether or not he should be involved in the war, whether or not the space program ultimately matters. And the movie is about sort of how his mission into space unites humanity and keeps them from destroying one another. So it's obviously a lot more hopeful than
he
what
looks
actually
pretty bummed
happens.
to be hopeful in that
it's kind of a slow, really thoughtful movie. Like it's and it's weird that it's like an alternate Earth. Like everyone had the guns and weapons. Like I think they wanted to do like it's weird because the guns don't look like normal guns. Like they just wanted to create a different world. It's kind of weird that it's an alternate Earth and not like a future Earth or something. But obviously a great love of the space program in this thing. But the movies, the reason I bring it up, besides the fact that it's like a world, it feels like a true science fiction world, is that it's one of the most beautiful animated movies I've ever seen. So to illustrate my point, I have kind of a long scene, but you know, what else are you going to do? Sit here and watch it. Enjoy Wings of Hanayames with me. Here's a long scene from it.
Dispatch from Megitsu. Follow course 02 to target.
Heads up, people! Enemy aircraft right above us!
Ground troops arrival at secured location. A 5-2 discrepancy.
Till launch and counting.
I can see smoke from the shooting.
Firm air cover for ground advance. Over.
Four, three, two, one.
My God! Here we go, buddy. Lift off!
So that's like an edited together thing. That's actually one of the more penultimate moments of the movie, but it's a really good movie. I forgot to mention the music was by the famous composer Ryuichi Sakamoto, so pretty much very ahead of its time movie that seems to have been forgotten. But,
Yeah, I've never seen it. It looks awesome.
It is awesome. It's available on Blu-ray. You can get it on Amazon.com. So my next choice I have talked about once before, but when thinking of sci-fi anime, it's one of the ones that it, again, isn't talked about as much these days because it's older, but it's awesome. So I wanted to talk again about Pat Labor. And I'm speaking of Pat Labor, the whole series. But Pat Labor, created by Mamoru Oshii, also director of Ghost in the Shell. So it was an OVA, and then there's a series of movies, and then there's a TV series, and then there's a second OVA, and they each continue different parts of things. So, like, there's 2 alternate timelines. Like, the TV series and 1 or 2 of the movies are on an alternate timeline from the OVAs and 2 of the other movies, so it's kind of confusing. But basically, this is the future, and I think the thing that, to me, makes this feel like more of a sci-fi world, aside from the fact that it's essentially a detective show set in the future with giant robots. It's not about, like, flying through the air. It's much more, the robots are much more workaday. Like, the world building feels realistic. Like, people use these robots for, like, construction and lifting stuff, and the show happens to be about these police who use the robots for, obviously, police work. But the world of Pat Labor is very much a sort of fully realized science fiction world, and it's not this over-the-top story. It's very much about just people working in their day-to-day lives, but they happen to have giant robots, which I always appreciate. So we're going to check out...
robots are strong, and their hands are made of metal.
We're going to check out a scene from Pat Labor, the movie. But again, Oshii is a genius, so of course all of the design work is top-notch. All the character work is amazing. So check this clip out.
Doesn't this place make you guys feel kind of uneasy?
Feels like a pagan shrine full of idols, huh? A fitting stage for a man who would adopt a name like Jehovah.
Listen up. The guard robots aren't much as long as you keep them away, but there are a lot of them.
Keep combat to a minimum. Our objective is securing the control room. Ota, you take point. Noah, cover our rear.
Get ready to storm right through the place. Charge!
Come on, cannon fodder! I'm here just for you!
Wait, now there's 8! They keep increasing! Wait for me!
Hurry! Eat this!
I said to keep it to a minimum, damn it!
We kept it to the bare minimum. It's unavoidable.
In the fields, you gotta play it by ear. The situation on the ground is always fluid.
Look, just try to conserve your ammo! We don't know what to expect!
Roger!
There it is!
It's really good. It's an older anime, but they're all available on Blu-ray, and I think most of them are available on Hulu. So if you ever looking for a mech anime, go for Pat Labor. Seems to be a trend currently moving somewhat away from mechs and science fiction in anime, but I'm hopeful eventually it will come back around. So for my final choice, I wanted to go with like a newer show, and before we show any clips, me talking about that I like this show and putting it on here in no way constitutes any sort of binding agreement that
everybody
this show will...
sign your waivers that are in front of you now that you will not ask about
right,
this coming on.
That this show will come on Toonami. But I wanted to talk about Ghost in the Shell Arise. And again, Ghost in the Shell, the original movie, is a complete classic. Oshii directed. Arise is a reimagining and sort of prequel to that story, in which Major Kusanagi, you find out sort of more of her backstory. It sort of begins with her working for the military, essentially, and she doesn't own her body. The implants, the cybernetic upgrades she's gotten she had to sign over the rights to her body to pay for. So she works for this unit, and it's not Section 9. Section 9 hasn't been created yet, and it's about sort of how she meets Batu, and sort of it's really about essentially a bunch of cases she's involved with that lead up to the formation of Section 9 and the dissolution of this group. So it was a limited OVA, I believe, that then was cut into a movie or two. The movie release just came out. It's pretty awesome. It took a while for these to release, so I've got kind of confused as far as how they rolled out. But you should check it out if you like Ghost in the Shell. It's a worthy successor to Standalone Complex and all the other Ghost in the Shell stuff, featuring a younger Major Kusanagi. So check out a clip from Ghost in the Shell Arise. I think this is a trailer, actually.
Would you say that you love this country?
Enough to give this mission my full attention, if that's what you mean.
You're clearly the right woman for the job, Major Kusanagi. The interview is merely a formality. The war accelerated both cyberbrain and prosthetic development. Of course, the cybercrimes born of such technology are serious, but they're only a symptom of another problem. And your unit can provide the perfect solution.
There's still one more job we gotta take care of.
Most of the military is going to become privatized. If you're going to war, you should at least have the sense to side with the winners. Between cyberbrains and prosthetics, we're seeing the largest profit-seeking system in the history of the world. Everyone is replaceable and expendable. Now let's see which one of us is disposable, too.
That's not something I can know.
They wanna fight? That's fine with me!
The world entered a rapid era of change. This country is no exception, of course.
Major, what's your status?
Prime Minister, no!
The hostage is cyberbrains.
Whoa, wait. Put those down!
They've been contaminated.
I thought they were supposed to be ghost-locked. Why can they move?
The false memory virus.
Should have been able to stop this.
Pity you. One who was once so free, trapped in this miserable waking world.
You're always searching for a future. If only we could be the same.
You have to accept your limits, remember?
Seeds that you planted are bearing fruit, Major. I won't let them be cut down.
One day you'll see the diversity of information packages is endless. That they can give birth to a new world.
A world of data without people or things. Do you believe in a place like that?
Are you willing to sell your ghost for the sake of some uniform standard? Sacrificing those less fortunate than you are? You've all been given cyberbrains and ghosts to guide your actions. If you want something from others, you have to find something to offer in return. Build your future. Follow your ghost.
So that's a trailer for the new movie, as it's called. But yeah, that series, like all Ghost in the Shell series, deals a lot about what happens to humanity in the future, and how the more we blend with machines, the more we forget, who we are. Like a bunch of deep thoughts, man. It's a good show, though. You should check it out. So those are some of my favorite sci-fi anime that I hadn't talked about too much before.
I don't know if we're going to be able to fit all that on the screen for the question.
Yeah, that's a big caveat. But
my first choice, which probably doesn't fit into that I haven't talked about before, but seemed like I probably should sort of talk about again, and it would give me a chance to play this clip that I like talking shit about.
Cool.
Is Neon Genesis Evangelion. I first saw the series probably 96, 7, 8, somewhere in that range. Does that feel like...
When it was out on home video?
Yeah. I feel like that was a Oxford Comics scenario. The clip that we have is from the first sort of reimagining movie, You Are Not Alone 1.0. And this is the trailer that we cut that then got us banned on YouTube for a year for copyright violation for promoting the movie that we had licensed through our licensor. So let's check out this clip, and then we can talk a little bit about Evangelion for those of you, the one who's watching who hasn't already seen it.
We ask all citizens for their cooperation during this time.
angel.
So this one's looking to hit us where we live.
Monster full of soul. Warp the pit. Close it and cut off its line of advance.
Hit it with everything you've got. Japanese government. They're requesting Ava mobilization.
We're dealing with a near-perfect life form. Conventional weapons won't be of any use.
Everyone, brace for direct impact!
You expect me to just get in this thing and fight? Is that it?
Correct.
Center it on the target and then pull the trigger.
You're looking at the most advanced weapon system ever developed by man. The synthetic humanoid Evangelion. This is Unit 1. Humanity's last hope for survival.
Get in, Shinji.
All personnel to battle stations. Condition 1.
There's a chance we could both die on this mission.
You won't die. Because I will protect you.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Launch it!
I'm the only one in real danger. You want to tell me how that's fair?
We can't stop it! Now hurry! Get out of there! Retreat!
Neon Genesis Evangelion 1.11. You are not alone. Tonight at 1 a.m.
We are all in this together.
Only Toonami on Adult Swim.
Get in, Shinji should just be the secondary title for all
robot
Evangelion. If someone hasn't seen Evangelion, would you recommend them watching the movies? Do you think it's better to watch the series? Do you think it's sort of two sides to the coin?
It's two sides of the coin. The final movie isn't out yet, and I still haven't seen the third movie because mysteriously it hasn't come over here.
FedEx lost it in the mail when it was
subbed or
coming.
dubbed. Some people have bootlegged it, but I haven't. So,
but that's what I was wondering. Like, if you, I just wonder.
The storylines diverge
Yeah.
more and more. I understand the third movie goes even farther from the original, so I think it remains to be seen which is superior. But for now, I might say start with the series, but they both kind of start really strong and go
Maybe
into...
start with the movies and then transition back to the series so you can finish it out if you're pressed for time. But either way,
they're both great.
It's pretty amazing, and I think tough to talk about sci-fi anime to not bring it up. But moving on to my second choice, which I have not seen this full series.
I thought you were going to say I haven't
seen it all.
Period.
This
my
is
second choice of my favorite. I haven't seen it, so I mean, I hear it's great.
I'm currently watching it, so the point I was sort of badly starting to make was that I don't know that this necessarily will stand the test of time for my favorite sci-fi, but it's certainly one that we haven't talked about, and I'm enjoying a lot now. And that
do you want to give a caveat before you do that?
Psychopath.
This is not endorsement stuff.
Oh yeah, no, that's so. This is much like Jason. This is not indicative of us acquiring this show, but I am enjoying it now. But being not in any way relevant or germane to the final acquisition heretofore known as Toonami. So Psychopaths is Production IG, and they sort of, according to them, set out to make a successor or another in the line of Ghost in the Shell and Pat Labor, and so sort of combining those sort of policing elements. And I guess watched Minority Report on the plane at some point, because it's basically the Psychopaths group is running around and sort of trying to arrest, but ends up just murdering most of the people who are who will eventually commit a crime.
Commit crimes, yeah. Future Crimes Unit.
Yeah, and it gets a little muddy and the story sort of changes, and if you haven't seen it, I don't want to sort of totally ruin it, but let's watch the trailer for Psychopaths.
They would normally be completely isolated as latent criminals, but we allow them into the outside world for a single purpose: to flush out and hunt down criminals just like themselves. They're nothing more than hunting dogs. The best way to track a beast is with a beast. We call them enforcers. Each one of them is your subordinate.
Well, let me tell you, all the time I've spent on this job, I have yet to encounter a single reasonable thing.
Hold on! What are you planning to do now?
I'm going to stand next to this woman named Yuki Funahara, and I'm going to kill her.
Attention, please. This is the Criminal Investigation Department of the Public Safety Bureau. For your protection, access to this block is currently restricted. Neighborhood residents are required to immediately evacuate this area. Request will now be...
Reinforcement mode change to destroy decomposer. Target is to be completely eliminated.
You have my deepest sympathies.
So the trailer goes a little overboard with subliminal, are you guilty, you should be watching scenario. But I do enjoy the show, and I think it's cool. And you never know.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, so
what the future may bring, but sometimes you do. Lastly, for me, for some of my favorite sci-fi anime that we have not talked about ad nauseum is Eureka 7.
Eureka 7.
We launched as part of the Lucky Sevens, and it was kind of unlucky
With
for both
Samurai
of those
7.
shows that Samurai 7 and Eureka 7 both had 7 in the title and were launching at the same time, because they probably each deserved their own spot. But there's only so many hours in the day and so many hours in Toonami that we can run things.
And we weren't fully up and running then, and things were moving fast and furious and changing a lot on the ground, so that was part of it.
So with all of those caveats, let's check out the Lucky Sevens promo, and then we can talk about Eureka 7.
What's here?
Well, all good things come to an end.
What are you talking about?
No. It's not Toonami this time. Don't worry. I'm talking about Dead Man Wonderland. We're all out of Dead Mans after tonight.
You are a big stupid!
But fear not. We got 2 new shows for you.
Wait a second. What'd you just say?
Yep, that's right. I said 2 new shows.
You better hang on!
Well, new to us. First up is Samurai 7 at 12:30. Akira Kurosawa, samurai, giant robots. What more could you want? Oh, another show, you say? Wish granted. Eureka 7's coming in at 1:30.
Now we're gonna see something really good.
Cute weird girls, more giant robots, and another 7. Get ready for the Lucky Sevens. Next Saturday night at 12:30 and 1:30. Everything's coming up 7s.
This is so great!
Only Toonami on Adult Swim.
Yeah, that's super old school.
Not Eureka 7.
Eureka 7. It's a mere...
We were excited to have 2 new shows at a time when we really didn't know what the future...
That was a mere 4 months into our run. We were still using the old repurposed Tom 3.5 footage.
And the old graphics look.
Yeah.
And the,
we were really running on fumes at that point.
And setting it up as we might be canceled was not at all a total lie.
No, it wasn't, but it was also a total dick move.
Yeah, it was. So in hindsight, there was some strategic misalignments with that spot, but still a good show.
But yeah, Eureka 7, you
yeah. So I had not seen it when it ran on Adult Swim in 06-ish, I guess, because it was right as Toonami, the OG,
was on its way out. Yeah,
was being shown the door. But I did watch it. I liked it a lot. I think that it's a good show. I think it's a not super heavy sci-fi show, but there's also a lot of elements that I think are enjoyable. And I think if you haven't seen it, it's a good sort of entry. I think it was a great show for us to pick up at that point to just sort of start testing the waters of
what do people want to see.
Yeah, where does this new Toonami audience want to go, and sort of where is the landscape? So if you have not seen Eureka,
have you seen the sequel?
No, I have not.
AO. Just curious.
Eureka 8. It's a terrible show. So. Yeah. Anyway, those are some of our favorite sci-fi anime choices, and now it's time to look at some of your favorite sci-fi anime choices, which we don't know yet.
However,
because of the holiday,
we are pre-recording this because
schedules.
of the upcoming holiday, so we will not be able to be privy.
I'm excited to see how Adult Swim Facebook works in Hank Hill and King of the Hill as a sci-fi anime.
Always.
It should be interesting to see.
And I think I'm also excited to see how the Toonami Facebook works in the same 5 shows that everybody always votes. I'm sure Cowboy Bebop will show up on there.
Yeah, which to me, I mean, it obviously has a lot of elements, but like when I think of Bebop, I don't think sci-fi initially.
Which is weird because it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought of it. We've talked about Bebop enough for one lifetime.
Yeah, I think so.
So why don't we move on to our sneak peek, which this week we will be showing you. We'll be re-airing inside this little show, episode 2 of Intruder 2. Sorry, I'm tripping over myself. So Intruder is ongoing. It's a 7-part little micro series that's running inside Toonami, and we just aired episode 2 at the time of this broadcast, and so we thought we'd give you guys a chance to see it again, because tomorrow night will be episode 3, where, let me warn you, things start getting serious.
It's true.
So
it's time to get serious and talk about serious.
why don't we go ahead and show you episode 2, then we can talk a little bit about it, and then show you a little sneak peek of episode 3.
Most of the damage done by the EMP doesn't appear permanent. I'm working on rebooting as many systems as I can.
Wait, you see that thing? It's headed right for us. Doesn't look like anything explosive, but it's definitely about to ram us. Can you get the artificial gravity working? Ow! Okay.
Tom, I can't get the shields back online in time. I read no explosives, but there's definitely a life form aboard that vessel. Current trajectory has it hitting the aft of the Absolution, between levels 54 and 55.
Damn it. Are the elevators working? I gotta head down there. Once it hits us, if we're still here, seal off any doors you can around it. I'm not down with any visitors who don't call first.
Be careful, Tom.
Oh, ye of little faith.
It's about to ram us. Brace for impact.
Who is this? Well, I guess we're still here. So whatever this thing is, it wants inside, not necessarily to blow us up.
Hull breached at the 54th floor, aft section.
What the hell could they want? What's in that section?
My AI core. Tom, maybe they knew the EMP wouldn't take me out. Maybe it wants my core systems for something.
All the more reason to show at the door. Nobody's taking you on my watch. Let's see what you got, sucker.
So, episode 2, more scene setting for episode 3, really. I'm sure it's frustrating for people like, he walked down a hallway, but what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And in episode 3, like I said, things start to get, there's a few things happen, and then in episode 4, more bad things happen. There's a lot of bad things that are going to happen to old Tom and Sarah, so brace yourself. But here's a little short sneak peek of episode 3 that we can show you right now.
Tom, get out of there. My sensor readings have confirmed the identity of the intruder.
Intruder 2 continues Saturday night at midnight.
We're doing like the Mad Men promo thing with these, like just to cut to Tom being like, huh? And then it's like, next week.
But so it'll continue to run the way it did for week 2. So the catch-up previously on will run at midnight, and then the first segment of Kai will run, and at the end of that first segment, sort of halfway through Kai, is all of the subsequent Intruder episodes.
Inside the commercial break of Kai. So that's Intruder. Please keep watching, keep tweeting, telling your friends about it. And we can move on to our next goodie of the week, which is a look at our promo for our upcoming marathon for Parasite the Maxim Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, so
and for those who are asking, yes, we are continuing to do marathons. No, we will not be showing movies. The marathons are working. So we are going to be marathoning our newest show, Parasite the Maxim, which is awesome, and you should definitely make time for that marathon. I think I will, actually.
Yeah, you're going to be totally sick of hanging out with your family by the time Saturday night
you'll be
rolls
eating
around.
turkey sandwiches. What else do you have to do? Watch some weird shit. So let's go ahead and show the promo for that marathon, and then we'll come back.
Parasite has arrived.
What did you do to my hand?
I was eating it.
And Toonami's running the first 7 episodes in a marathon.
The host is not optimal.
I know you think that I shouldn't do anything about it, that I should let these things go on killing people, but I can't.
A rather dangerous situation, wouldn't you say?
Human life is a precious thing, isn't it?
I don't know.
The Parasite Marathon, next Saturday at midnight.
I've got to fight for humanity.
So yeah, that will run this coming weekend. The spot will run this coming weekend, and then the marathon is Thanksgiving weekend. That's Saturday the 28th.
Yeah, and it seems to be Parasite seems to be one of the better liked shows currently airing in the block. Like I think it's a well regarded show, so I think the marathon will do well. At least I hope so. You never know with the holidays. So gather your family around and show them a guy
each on your own individual Nielsen rated box in your house.
Show your family a guy with a sentient hand that wants to eat things. So our final piece for the week is a new episode of the Bloom Room from our man Steve Bloom. Where is he?
This is from Anime USA and a look back at Steve's time at the con.
Nice. All right.
Which I've never been to Anime USA.
I haven't either. I mean, Steve's been to more cons. He goes to more cons in 1 year than I've been to in my entire life. But that's
maybe
just,
in a month.
Yeah. He travels more than anyone I know, just about too. So let's see what he gets up to at Anime USA.
Hey, Bloom Room. We're on flight 411 because we needed information on our way to Anime USA in Washington, D.C. Join us, won't you? By the way, this is a Cowboy Bebop reunion.
Woohoo!
See you, Space Cowboy. It's Halloween. We're going to a panel. Anime USA. It gets worse. Just wait.
Thank you all for coming today. Let me introduce this unbelievable cast. What was amazing is that in this series that was short-lived and beautifully so, there was one episode that only had the main cast in it. Luckily enough, it is called Toys in the Attic.
Sounds good to call bounty hunting freelance work, but all that really means is that we're self-employed. So when there's no one to hunt, we have nothing.
I can't eat anymore.
So, how much did you swindle?
A word like that could damage my reputation. He just had a run of bad luck.
Ah, right. He just didn't know about that anklet. Long, strange, and wonderful journey this has been. 17 years after we recorded this show. We're back together again as a family and doing it for you, and you guys seem to be loving it just as much as you did the first day it came out. Thank you again for all the support. Thanks for joining us at Anime USA. Thank you, Washington, D.C., for welcoming us. Unfortunately, we didn't get out to see you very much, so we had to do it after hours. Spend a little time with Mr. Lincoln and Mr. Jefferson. Always good to spend time with the founding fathers and tell them what's up. Until next time, see you in the Bloom Room. Bang.
Well, that will do it for today for us for Toonami Pre-Flight. We will see you Saturday night at midnight for episode 3 of Intruder 2.
And some shows.
And some shows. And some
the real
promos for another shows.
You're tuning in.
So yeah, Toonami this coming Saturday, midnight to 3:30, and we'll talk to you next time. See you.
Thanks.
Thank you.